Very briefly in this video, I want to show you how to use some of the custom scripts that I've created for you to play around with. Now, inside of Unity, typically you play around with all these shapes and meshes and lights, very much like you do in Blender, and then you have the opportunity to be able to write code that allows these things to behave in very specific behaviors. I have no expectation of any of you to write any code for this class. However, if you are interested, I can provide a variety of resources to get you started. But I did want to give you a few scripts that will allow you to play around with some audio visual things that will be pretty fun. So if you go ahead and you're in the assets folder and you click on these scripts, you'll see that there's a variety of different pieces of code that I've created for us. There's an audio scale, which scales up meshes based on the amplitude of audio. There's a combined MIDI light controller, which allows you to use MIDI to control the setting sun. The player movement is, what we're actually using to move the character around. And then play sound in area is something that allows you to say, hey, I actually only want to play this sound when I'm in this area. So pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead with the audio scale first. First, I'm just going to get out of this folder. I'm going to go create. I'm left clicking here and I'm just going to create a cube. Now you can, if you want, actually have this. I'm going to name this sound cube. Great. That's my rice. You can, of course, do this to your meshes as well. I'm just using this object as an example. But now that I have this sound cube right here, and I can go into my scripts folder, I can just take this audio scale and I can drag it onto my sound cube. And now you'll see a few different things. You'll see, hey, where's the audio source that I'm going to get this information from? What's the minimum scale you want, the maximum scale, the sensitivity, and the smoothing? So let's add an audio source to this. And I think for this, I'm going to add, let's see, I want the drums, because that'll just be a little bit more easy. I'm going to make sure this is totally 3D so that we still have that 3D experience when we go up. I want to make sure this loops, and we can do logarithmic for right now, and let's go check this out. Now, actually, this wouldn't work quite yet because I don't have anything connected to audio source. I need to go in, and now that I've created the audio source on the sound cube, it'll allow me to attach it right there. I'm gonna make my max scale 100 or 10 just for the hell of it, and let's see what happens. Okay, that's pretty good. I kind of want this to be bigger though, so let's make this 100. It's better. Maybe 1,000. What about that? That might be too much. Let's do 500. There we go. Okay, that is really simple. I've taken the script, I've added it to this cube. In this case, I needed an audio source to be able to say, hey, what's controlling the actual movement up and the movement down? It's really that simple. All you need to do is find which mesh you want to use, make sure it has an audio source on it, and then add this audio scale over to it and attach the actual audio source that you're trying to refer to. Perfect. Let's go ahead and do something else. I'm going to go ahead and create another cube, and I'm gonna call this area cube. In this area cube, I'm gonna move down so that it's like on the ground. I'm gonna move it over here, and I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. I want it to be like that, and I want it to be like that, and I want it to be like that, and that looks pretty good for me. Now, what I'm doing with this cube is I want to set a specific area, and when I'm in this area, I'll be able to hear a sound, and when I'm not in this area, I will not be able to hear the sound. It's really that simple. And now that I've created the area that I'm happy with, I can go ahead and drag play sound and area over to this cube. Great. Again, we have this audio source, so we're going to need to create a new audio source. And I'll do the text-to-speech one. I don't want to play this on awake, but I do want to loop it because we actually want to play this when we go into the space. I still want it to be 3D. And you would think everything's totally good right now, but there's one thing that I actually need to get rid of, which is I need to get rid of this box collider. I can just turn it off. Or I could say is trigger instead. I'm just going to remove the entire component. Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. I actually totally need that, the box collider. But I'm just going to say is trigger instead of actually colliding with it. And by saying it is trigger, I'm now no longer going to walk into this and bump up against it, but it is going to be a trigger for the code. Again, I just need to go over here, say area cube, because that is the sound that we're referring to. And let me turn this on and see what happens. We've got our cube. Let's go over here. Okay, so obviously we have some problems. What's going on? I'm going to move this a little bit further down because I think that could have been the problem. Let's see if we need to actually play this on awake. Oh, okay, I know what's going on. So I actually need to add a tag to the player. So what this is doing, the code is going in and it's checking and it's saying, hey, is the player going into this space? If the player is going into this space, then we will actually do it. If I click on my player right here, I actually don't have it with the tag of player. So I just need to change it to that. And then once I've done that, I should be able to walk into here. And I actually need to change play on awake because I don't want this to play on awake anymore. And then let's go in here.
This is all inside of a virtual three-dimensional world.
Perfect. I'm going in.
This is all inside of a virtual three-dimensional.
I'm going out.
This is all inside of a virtual three-dimensional world.
Cool. Okay. Pretty simple. The last one I want to show, I'm just going to go ahead and create an empty. And there's actually nothing that you can see that this empty has. It's a little bit different than the empties that are in Blender in that there's not really a cube associated with it. But this empty is really just a way to hold things and designate and point to specific areas inside of Unity. So in this empty, I'm just going to drag over combined MIDI controller. And this is going to be controlling the light with MIDI. Now I can actually control and say, hey, I want there to be, I'm going to go through the entire pentatonic scale, and I want each note to be a different color. And I can specify all that right here. I need to make sure that the alpha's up. Same with this. And I'll just make it these two for right now, or maybe I'll just make it yellow for right now, and you can do this later on. Beep, 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 beep. And maybe I'll make the decay time like 3 instead. Now, I have a MIDI controller that's plugged into my computer, and I actually also have Ableton running. So let's go ahead and see what happens.
Inside of a virtual three-dimensional world.
Okay, so that was a really simple example, but I just wanted to show you that using these scripts is really quite simple. For the audio scale, again, you are designating a sound cube or a mesh. You're dragging this over. You will need to create an audio source, and then you'll just need to say, hey, I want to use that audio source to be able to control what happens to the size of this shape. For the area cube, you're creating an area inside of a cube. You can change this material to make it translucent. I am then also adding an area source or an audio source. And the important part here is like it doesn't need to have play on awake, but it does need to be looping. And then the last thing I need to do for that is to go over to this player and just make sure that it is tagged as player. And then for the MIDI or the MIDI light rotate, which is this combined MIDI light controller, all I need to do is create an empty, drag this script over to the empty, and then I need to take this directional light or whatever light that you really want and plug it into here. Once you press play, your MIDI should be recognized and you should be able to change these aspects. Very easily. Let me know if you have any questions. And for those of you who do like to code and know how to code, if you control click on any of these, you can say open C# project, and it'll allow you to open this up in Visual Studio's code, and then you can tweak it or play around with it all you want. If you're familiar with JavaScript and a little bit of Python, these should be really, really simple for you. What's kind of neat about Unity is it allows you to actually bring the variables that you're using in your script publicly into Unity, and that's what all these things are. These are just variables that you're tweaking with sliders. Anyway, talk to you soon. Bye.